All right, guys, quick thoughts on the brutal Ruben Owens injury news. I'm sure you've heard by now, but it's been reported by ESPN and others that Ruben Owens had a lower extremity injury in A&M's first fall camp scrimmage. And of course, when you're checking for updates from the team, you want to hear depth chart news. You want to hear how players are trending. You want to see how quickly they're picking up a new offensive and defensive scheme under a new coaching staff. But the first thing you're always looking for, no injuries. And here we go again. We had a brutal fall camp injury last year in Donovan Green. This year, it's Ruben Owens. One of the top two running backs in the 2023 cycle that went down this fall camp. The other one being C.J. Baxter in Texas, a weird parallel there. Like Texas, Texas A&M feels like they have a running back room that can kind of sustain this blow and kind of, throw the next man in. But let's just talk about what we're missing out with before we get into the rest of the room. A lot of people pointed at this year as a big opportunity for Ruben to have a breakout type of year. We saw him last year with kind of an up and down season, showing glimpses of what his five-star talent can be at the college level, but also a lot of learning curves behind a subpar offensive line. Inability to kind of read the blockers in front of him in the zone running scheme. We were going to see a gap running scheme, much more power plays, outside pin and pull plays this year. Maybe better stuff for a player like Ruben Owens to kind of get his feet wet and make his way into open field, which is where we've seen him be the most lethal in his short time at A&M. Looked really good in the spring game. Obviously, decorated high school career, back-to-back 2,000-yard seasons to end his high school career, was an absolute touchdown machine in high school. We're going to have to wait another year to see it this year, guys. When you were breaking this team down, you looked at Ruben Owens as a guy that could potentially lead the team in rushing yards, maybe score a bunch of touchdowns, get involved in the passing game, dynamic player that could do a lot. But you were banking on some improvement that we thought would be there. I mean, it's a true freshman in a big role with a bad O-line and a subpar offense last year. Moving into this year, you thought, he could bring a lot to the team. So obviously it's not happening. Le'Veon Moss, Amari Daniels, and transfer E.J. Smith are the ones that are going to step up. As we know, we've done a video on the room. If you haven't seen it, you can check it out and just skip through the Ruben Owens part now. I have been saying on this channel, it's documented, I'm not just saying this in hindsight, that Le'Veon Moss had the highest ceiling in the running back room, just based on my observations and looking at his tool set, looking what he has. You would look at him as kind of a power back, but he's explosive. He has speed. He can run through defenders. He has great acceleration in open field. He brings a lot to the table. Now, we saw glimpses last year, but injury-riddled season for Le'Veon Moss. So now you need Le'Veon to stay healthy, because if he goes down like he did last year, misses a couple games here or there, your room starts to get really thin with only 3 viable options available. I've been calling Amari Daniels a breakout candidate this year because I think a lot of people forget how long he's been around and how productive he has been in his college career so far. He spelled A-Chain in 2022, looked pretty good behind also a bad O-line, had some really good moments last year, but unfortunately the things that come to mind with Amari Daniels are the 2 big fumbles versus Miami and in the bowl game versus Oklahoma State. He needs to shore that up, of course. But with improved O-line play, I think Amari and Le'Veon can be perfectly fine for A&M to equip to achieve their highest goals on the year. I don't think there's a talent issue in the running back room. What there is a concerning depth issue in the running back room now. You had 4 guys going in. Great. That was enough. As long as they were healthy, 4 guys gives you options to keep fresh legs in there, to try different guys for different looks, to try different skill sets for different play types. You had that flexibility. You had an emergency guy in E.J. Smith. Maybe he plays a little bit too outside of an emergency. He's going to have to now. But now you're looking at, like I said, if one guy goes down, scary, scary waters, man. 2 guys, I mean, you can probably get by with 2, but you're not going to be able to rotate those fresh legs, have these different forms for different skill sets like you would with the diverse room you had before. Right now, you're kind of still in that diverse room. I mean, you have Le'Veon and Amari, and then you have E.J. Smith, who's kind of the pass catcher. That's kind of his forte at Stanford. That was his best attribute as a running back, was catching the ball. You just lose that kind of like that change of pace home run threat that Ruben Owens could have been. We all assumed that Moss was going to be the starter. Ruben Owens would be the change of pace, like I said, big play threat. So you're going to just need Moss and Amari to really just be those upperclassmen leaders for this team, for this room, for this offense, because we know that Colin Klein's going to run the hell out of that football. So overall, I don't think losing Rueben Owens would cause me to adjust my win-loss prediction on a season for A&M. I don't think it's that much of a sole factor going into a team. The running back room will be good if the O-line improves. That is still the fact about this running game. If the O-line is productive, your backs right now without Owens are good enough to be productive. I think Moss can be a 1,000-yard back based on the skill set. Hell, I think Daniels could be given the opportunity. Now, I think Moss will get the biggest share of the carries, and he'll have the best chance of hitting 1,000 if that's on the table this year, if the offense is productive. You have enough, but you can't lose another one, man. Thin ice. All right, guys, that's it. Just want to give my thoughts on the injury. Just, you really feel bad for Owens, and it was just an exciting player, right? Like, you really wanted to see this star potential, this 5-star talent really showcase his stuff, and it was just a really exciting, fan-friendly type of player. And it just sucks for us, and especially for Ruben and his family. Was probably very excited for this season, but we move on. It's football. We just pray that there are no more injuries looming around the corner. I will see you guys in the next video, my last position group breakdown of the defensive line. That'll probably drop Monday morning. This one dropping today, Sunday, the day we're getting the news about Ruben. Y'all have a great one. Thanks. Gig 'em.